From our Toronto studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Aishah Ashraf. California becomes the first state to sue President Donald Trump over tariffs, calling them an unlawful tax hike that threatens billions in trade. This and more in today's show, so stay tuned. A federal judge has found probable cause to hold the Trump administration in criminal contempt. The ruling came after government officials defied a court order halting deportation flights to El Salvador. Judge James Boasberg said the government showed willful and deliberate disregard for his directive. He stressed that the Constitution does not allow such defiance, especially by officials who swore to uphold it. Boasberg earlier blocked deportations under the Alien Enemies Act. President Donald Trump used the law to expel migrants linked to Venezuela's Tren de Aragua gang. Despite the ban, a deportation flight landed in El Salvador. Trump denied wrongdoing and called Boasberg a radical left judge, demanding his impeachment. The Justice Department claims the judge is overstepping his authority. The court's decision could lead to criminal proceedings against Trump officials. In related news, Senator Chris Van Hollen was denied access to visit Gilmar Abrego Garcia. Garcia is the Maryland resident who was wrongfully deported to El Salvador by the Trump administration last month, despite a U.S. court order blocking his deportation. Van Hollen traveled to the country hoping to meet Garcia at the notorious Terrorism Confinement Center prison, where he is detained. El Salvador's Vice President, Felix Ulloa, refused the visit, saying prior arrangements were needed. Ulloa also declined requests to allow Garcia's family to speak to him by phone. The senator criticized the Trump administration for deporting Garcia and falsely labeling him a gang member. Garcia, who lived in the U.S. for more than a decade, fled El Salvador due to gang threats. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi has called Garcia an illegal immigrant and linked him to the MS-13 gang, though no due process was given to prove these claims. Both Garcia and his wife denied ties to the MS-13. Despite admitting the deportation was a mistake, the Trump administration has not acted to bring Garcia back. Van Hollen pledged to return next week to push for a meeting. The Pentagon's Defense Digital Service, or DDS, a tech unit inspired by Silicon Valley, was shut down by May 1st after its entire team of 14 resigned. Director Jennifer Hay and her team stepped down, citing bureaucratic hurdles, hiring freezes, and restrictions on travel and remote work introduced by the Trump administration. Officials said these blockades left the team non-mission capable. Founded in 2015 by then Defense Secretary Ash Carter, DDS aimed to modernize military operations with innovative digital solutions. It worked on cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and services for military families. The Hill reports the unofficial Department of Government Efficiency, linked to President Donald Trump donor and his advisor Elon Musk, also played a role, allegedly excluding DDS from AI-related projects. While DDS will disband, its ongoing initiatives have been reassigned. The Pentagon declined to comment further on the closure. Columbia University's philosophy department has condemned the detention and attempted deportation of Mohsen Madawi, a Palestinian student and legal U.S. resident. In a strongly worded statement, the department expressed horror and dismay that Madawi, who is accused of no crime, was arrested while attending a citizenship appointment in Vermont. The department urged Columbia's leadership to support Madawi and others targeted for peacefully expressing political views, especially criticism of what it called Israel's war in Gaza. Madawi, who has lived in the U.S. for a decade and is completing his undergraduate philosophy degree, gained attention during student-led protests last year. He publicly opposed anti-Semitism and advocated for Palestinian rights, saying on 60 Minutes that justice for all is a shared fight. Observers say that despite no criminal charges, the administration is targeting international students like Madawi, Mahmoud Khalil, and Rumeza Ozturk. Khalil and Ozturk are currently both detained. A leaked State Department memo claims Madawi's activism could undermine the Middle East peace process. Critics say the crackdown seeks to silence dissent, branding peaceful protest as extremism. Columbia faculty now call on the university to act legally and materially to defend its students. California has become the first state to sue President Donald Trump over his use of tariffs. Governor Gavin Newsom announced a lawsuit on Wednesday, saying Trump unlawfully used emergency powers to impose tariffs without Congress. Newsom warned the move amounts to the biggest tax hike in modern U.S. history. He said California, the largest manufacturing state, stands to suffer the most, impacting everything from tech to agriculture. The state argues that billions are at risk due to disrupted global trade. The case was filed in federal court and mirrors a separate challenge filed earlier this week by American businesses. The Trump administration has granted pollution exemptions to nearly 70 coal-fired power plants across the United States. The 2-year waivers free these plants from key environmental regulations put in place by former President Joe Biden, aimed at curbing emissions of mercury, arsenic, and benzene. According to the EPA, 47 power companies operating 66 coal plants will benefit from the move. Many of these facilities are in Republican-leaning states like Montana, Alabama, North Dakota, and Tennessee, which strongly backed President Donald Trump in the last election. The decision follows an executive order signed by Trump to boost the coal industry. He accused Democrats of trying to abolish coal and pledged to remove what he called unnecessary environmental restrictions. Trump also promised to increase coal mining leases on federal land and speed up the permitting process. Environmental experts warn the rollback could worsen the climate crisis, making parts of the earth unlivable and increasing extreme weather events. Art Dubai 2025 kicks off with more than 120 galleries from 65 cities, spotlighting themes like migration and AI in art. Open to the public April 18th to the 20th. This and more coming up next. The trade standoff between the world's 2 largest economies shows no sight of cooling down. The White House has warned that China could face tariffs as high as 245%. This comes after Beijing imposed 125% retaliatory tariffs on U.S. imports. That move was in response to Washington raising tariffs on Chinese goods to 145%. The White House says President Donald Trump's America First policy is behind the aggressive trade stance. It adds that more than 75 countries are in talks for new trade deals, but China remains an exception. Trump's administration has accused Beijing of weaponizing trade. Despite threats of higher tariffs, China has said it will not raise duties any further. But Washington claims that China's retaliatory actions have forced its hand. U.S. tariffs on other countries are paused for 90 days, except for China. In related news, Hong Kong has suspended postal services to the U.S. as a trade war between Washington and Beijing deepens. The Hong Kong Post announced that it will stop accepting surface mail to the U.S. immediately. Air mail will also be suspended starting April 27th. The move follows the Trump administration's decision to strip Hong Kong of duty-free postal privileges and hike tariffs on packages from the city. Starting May 2nd, the U.S. will impose steep tariffs on postal items containing goods from Hong Kong. Tariffs on such parcels have already risen from 90% to 120%. Overall, U.S. tariffs on Chinese and Hong Kong products now reach up to 245%. While China's retaliatory duties stand at 125%. Hong Kong's government hit back, calling the U.S. action unreasonable, bullying, and abusive. Officials said Hong Kong Post will not collect any tariffs for the U.S. and will return unshipped parcels to senders with refunds. Only letters and documents are exempt from the suspension. The Ohio chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR, is urging a hate crime investigation into an Islamophobic letter sent to a Muslim student in Cincinnati. The student, who leads the Students for Justice in Palestine chapter at the University of Cincinnati, received a letter filled with anti-Muslim and anti-Palestinian slurs. The letter was sent to her new home, an address not listed in any public records. She reported the incident to University Police and the Warren County Sheriff's Office, who advised her to carry bear mace and stay alert. CAIR Ohio Executive Director Khalid Durrani called on state and federal authorities to act. He warned that failure to investigate such threats encourages further hate. Durrani stressed that students speaking out against Israel's genocide in Gaza must be protected from escalating violence. The The case has sparked growing concern over rising Islamophobia. South Africa is standing firm on its new envoy to the U.S. despite past remarks he made about President Donald Trump. President Cyril Ramaphosa appointed B.C. Jonas, a former deputy finance minister, as special envoy to Washington. Jonas previously called Trump a racist, homophobic, and narcissistic right-winger after the 2020 U.S. elections. Presidential spokesman Vincent Magwenya defended the decision, saying Jonas made the comments in a personal capacity. He stressed that political issues such as tariffs should be kept separate from personal opinions. Magwenya noted that Trump also made unkind remarks about Africa in the past, but no African leader held a grudge. Jonas replaces Ibrahim Rasool, who was expelled by the U.S. last month in a diplomatic row over his own criticism of the Trump administration. World Health Organization member states have finalized a draft global pandemic agreement after more than 3 years of negotiations. The deal will be presented at the 78th World Health Assembly on May 19th for approval. The agreement focuses on global solidarity, equity, and respecting national sovereignty. It was developed through 13 formal negotiation rounds following the COVID-19 pandemic. The draft outlines key measures that include promoting fair access to vaccines and treatments and building a global logistics network. WHO Chief Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus called it a historic moment that shows multilateralism is still strong. The deal ensures the WHO won't dictate national health policies or impose mandates. Ambassador Anne-Claire Amprou called it a major step for global health security and equity. Israel has killed at least 40 more Palestinians and injured 73 in airstrikes on Gaza over the last 24 hours, according to the local health ministry. Gaza's Civil Defense Agency said Israeli warplanes targeted camps for displaced people, including tents in the Al-Mawasi area near Khan Yunis, killing 16. Israel killed at least 21 others in Gaza City. In northern Gaza, Israeli jets struck a UN-run school sheltering civilians in Jabalia refugee camp, killing 6, local media reported. 2 more people were killed in additional air raids. Meanwhile, a 20-year-old Palestinian prisoner has died in Israeli jail as Palestinians marked Prisoners' Day with protests across the West Bank and East Jerusalem. The UN estimates that 500,000 Palestinians have been newly displaced since Israel resumed its offensive on March 18th after breaking a ceasefire with Hamas. In some relief, Gaza City restored water to nearly 1 million residents after a 2-week outage caused by damage to a main pipeline. The pipeline, fed by Israel's Mekorot company, serves 70% of Gaza City. The Palestinian Health Ministry says that Israel has killed more than 62,000 Palestinians and wounded 116,505 since October 2023, when it began its genocide in Gaza. The International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant for war crimes and crimes against humanity in Gaza. Israel also faces a genocide case at the International Court of Justice for its war on Gaza. Our Dubai 2025 kicked off with an exclusive preview on Wednesday at Madina Jumeirah, showcasing more than 120 galleries from 65 cities across 5 continents. One of the world's leading contemporary art fairs, it highlights regional talent and global perspectives through 4 main sections: contemporary, bawaba, modern, and digital. This year's edition explores urgent global themes such as migration, displacement, and the growing influence of artificial intelligence in art. The fair welcomes 30 first-time exhibitors, reflecting its growing international reach. It opens to the public from April 18th to the 20th. That's all from our Toronto studios. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. You can donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Salam.